Imagine going about your day, when all of a sudden, one of your coworkers comes in and points a gun to your head. On May 7th, 1992, in the shopping district of Sydney River on Kings Road in Nova Scotia, Canada, the McDonald's was quiet. It was around 12:50 a.m. Then, 7 shots rang out in the restaurant. Hello, my miracles, and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Crime, episode 55, May I Take Your Order? So grab your coffee and let's talk some crime. 18-year-old Derek Wood had worked at the McDonald's on May 6th. He had also helped 20-year-old coworker Arlene McNeil with inventory. While Derek worked, his friends, 23-year-old Freeman McNeil, no relation, and 18-year-old Darren Muse, hung out at the Tim Hortons coffee shop next door, waiting for Derek's call. Instead of calling, Derek slid out the basement door of the McDonald's, leaving his bag wedged in the door so that all 3 of them could get back inside. Waiting a while, believing that all of the coworkers had left for the night, the 3 made their way back to the McDonald's, bringing a gun, knives, and a shovel. However, all 3 had walked past the vehicles of Donna Warren, Neil Burles Jr., and Arlene McNeil. The 3 made their way to the safe where the money was kept and encountered Donna and Arlene. Recognizing Derek, Arlene laughed and said, "Is this a joke?" Derek raised the .22 caliber gun and shot Arlene in the head. 22-year-old swing shift manager Donna Warren knelt to the ground next to her coworker and wept. Plans had drastically changed. Derek ran upstairs to find janitor Neil Burles Jr., age 29, a young husband and father, cleaning in the kitchen. He shot Neil in the head. However, death would not come quickly for Neil. Derek ran back downstairs to where Donna was still laying by Arlene. He shouted at her as he led her to the upstairs safe. Donna was the only one who knew the combination to the safe where the money was stored. She fumbled and opened the safe, and that is when she was shot in the head. Donna fell, and Derek shot her a second time, this time in the eye. Derek grabbed whatever money he could, while Freeman and Darren stood over Neil's body. Freeman shouted to Derek, "He won't die. You shot him, and I cut his throat, but he won't die." Neil begged them for his life, but he was struck with the shovel, knocking him to the floor. Then, Neil was shot again. The 3 headed for the door when they encountered 27-year-old James Fagan, who had arrived an hour early for his shift. James greeted them saying, "Hi guys." In response, Freeman shot James in the head. After they made their escape, Derek realized that he left his bag with his McDonald's name tag, and surprisingly, all 3 of them went back to get the bag and also to make sure everyone was dead. Pulling into the parking lot, they saw the taxi that drove James Fagan to work. That taxi driver had heard the shots that had killed James and radioed the police. Derek quickly made up an alibi while the killers dumped the cash boxes, some McDonald's coupons, their clothes, and the weapons used in the murders. Police arrived at the McDonald's thinking that the gunmen were still inside. They entered, guns drawn, and witnessed the horrific scene. Some police were reported to have been crying due to the carnage. Derek had been pacing back and forth during the search of the restaurant and was taken in for his official statement. Right away, the officer knew Derek was lying. Derek stated that he had been outside of the McDonald's smoking when he heard the shots, and fearful, he had ran away. In a short time, Derek folded and gave up his 2 friends, Freeman and Darren. $2,017 was stolen. $2,017. Arlene McNeil survived the vicious attack. However, she was left with physical and mental disabilities. And in 2018, at the age of 46, Arlene passed away. That McDonald's location reopened on May 14th of that same year, after officers and psychiatrists had a walkthrough with the staff. And in 2000, that location was demolished and the McDonald's moved down the road. Derek Wood and Freeman McNeil received a life sentence, while Darren Muse only received 20 years in prison. However, on November 22nd of 2012, the National Parole Board gave Darren a full parole, stating that, quote, "Given the significant and real progress you have made over the years, your case management team is of the opinion that the probability that you commit a crime after your release is low," unquote. Then on March 28th of 2024, Freeman McNeil was granted a full parole based on a, quote, "low to moderate risk of reoffending." Derek Wood's application had been rejected by the parole board, claiming he was too high a risk to reoffend. Why does the justice system let these murderers go? I will never understand the heinous acts of others, yet alone how they can manipulate the system and be set free. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Coffee and Crime. If you did, click that like button. And if you're not a miracle and want to be, click that subscribe button and watch a miracle happen. I'm Miracle Girl for Coffee and Crime. We'll see you next time.